The great benefit of TV over film is the ability to tell a wider and more expansive story, where audiences are able to spend considerably longer with the heroes and villains of the piece. But even then, some TV shows have decided to take things a little further by introducing villainous characters earlier than anyone actually realized. These 7 TV villains, from brutal serial killers to tragically doomed ghosts and even a pesky thief, all showed up a good while before they were actually introduced to the audience in earnest. So I'm Gareth, you are watching What Culture right here, and this is 7 TV villains secretly introduced way earlier than you realize. So yeah, let's get going. Number 7, Red Dragon Hannibal. Francis Dolarhyde, aka the Red Dragon, was officially introduced in the latter half of Hannibal's 3rd and to date final season. But the show's creator, Brian Fuller, tweeted back in 2013 that the character technically made his first appearance in this universe in the show's pilot episode. The pilot, Aperitif, opens with FBI profiler Will Graham investigating the brutal double murders of Mr. and Mrs. Marlowe, a crime which is never actually solved over the course of the series. Yet, by Fuller's own word, this was not some random unsolved crime. It was our secret first glimpse at Red Dragon, one of the most infamous and prolific killers of the entire series. As Fuller would explain on Twitter, or X, or whatever the hell it's called, the Marlowe murders that open the Hannibal premiere are actually the first murders committed by Francis Dolarhyde, aka the #RedDragon, though I don't think hashtag is typically there, is it? But yeah, there you go. Number 6, Culverton Smith, Sherlock. The second episode of Sherlock's 4th season, The Lying Detective, sees Holmes facing off against the Jimmy Savile-esque entrepreneur turned serial killer Culverton Smith. Culverton, that is a name right there, isn't it? But keen-eyed Sherlock fans who kept their eyes peeled in the previous episode, The Six Thatchers, might have noticed a fleeting glimpse of Toby Jones' distinctive mug on a bus stop poster when Watson hops off a bus. Yep, there he is, lingering in the stop. It's genius in its own way, because the brilliant Toby Jones isn't quite famous enough where general audiences will immediately notice his face. But if you are aware of the actor and notice this poster, it's an intriguingly subtle introduction to a character whose slimy disingenuousness seems evident from the very image alone. Yeah, that's a face that cannot be trusted. Number 5, the Scranton Strangler, The Office. In slightly more tongue-in-cheek fashion now, we have The Office's Scranton Strangler, a serial killer whose presence is first mentioned in the Season 6 episode The Delivery. Now, while the Scranton Strangler is never actually physically seen over the course of the show, in Season 7's viewing party we do get a good look at his vehicle, a 2000 Mercury Cougar, which he's driving during the televised police chase that results in his capture. But this isn't actually the first time we've seen this car, no. So in the Season 6 premiere, Gossip, Michael, Dwight, and Andy are seen performing parkour-style acrobatics across a number of cars, one of which is the very same 2000 Mercury Cougar. Parkour next to the Cougar. While it's of course entirely possible this is simply a coincidence and nothing more, considering the extreme attention to detail the showrunners apply to basically every aspect of The Office, it's far more likely an implication that the Strangler, identified as a man named George Howard Scub, had business at Dunder Mifflin that day. Now, some maintain that the car may belong to Toby Flenderson, who many fans still insist is the real Strangler. But given that we've never seen Toby drive this car right here, it's far more plausible that the Strangler had business at either Dunder Mifflin or one of the surrounding companies. And while we're talking about The Office, I want to know right now in the comments down below, what is your favorite ever moment from the US or UK Office? Come on, let's all have a laugh in the comments, why not? Also, if you're having fun looking at the brilliant ways these shows snuck in their villains earlier than many people realize, then hit that subscribe button right down below and you will get even more What Culture lists in your life each and every day. You're just one click away from more of the good stuff. That's a click well spent. Number 4, The Plague Doctor, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Fans of Mike Flanagan's Netflix horror series, The Haunting of Hill House, quickly realized that the director had meticulously hidden dozens of ghosts in plain sight over the course of the series. And so, when the sequel series, The Haunting of Bly Manor, was eventually released, fans once again kept their eyes peeled for all those secret ghost sightings. They wanted more of the sneaky spooks. While in total fairness, most of the ghosts featured throughout are not out-and-out antagonists, their presence does nevertheless cause the protagonists a sure level of distress, and few more than the Plague Doctor, whose bleak origin story as the Lady of the Lake's first victim is finally unveiled in the series' 8th episode, The Romance of Certain Old Clothes. Though the Plague Doctor is quite obviously seen a few times in the show's earlier episodes, you probably ended up missing his very first placement. At roughly 21 minutes into the season premiere, The Great Good Place, just as Flora leads Danny on a tour up Bly Manor's staircase, the Plague Doctor can be seen skulking around in shadow to the right of the stairs, albeit resembling a coat rack, but a spooky coat rack. Now, you'll probably need to crank the brightness on your display to get a real good look at the Plague Doctor here, but he is definitely there. That is no coat rack, folks. Number 3, The Yellow King, True Detective. True Detective's masterful first season revolves around the mystery of the shadowy serial killer known as the Yellow King, who in the season finale is revealed to be scarred school caretaker Errol Childress. And while Childress does make an upfront appearance earlier in the season, showing up in the 3rd episode, The Locked Room, most fans miss that creator Nick Pizzolatto sneakily confirmed him to be the Yellow King in this very scene. Yeah, that's right. As detectives Rust and Marty pay the lawn-mower-riding Childress a visit, a sign in the foreground of the establishing shot shows a sign with the words "Notice King" visible. As in, notice the Yellow King is right here, literally staring you in the face, my friends. Well, sort of. Obviously, it's an extremely subtle hint at what's to come, but that did not stop a few fans catching it at the time, and ultimately being proven right at the end of the season. They earned a nice pat on the back, they did. As such, this scene wasn't so much introducing audiences to Errol Childress as it was the Yellow King. Congrats again to those who caught it the first time around. You got some sharp eyes. Number 2, Wayne Williams, Mindhunter. Mindhunter's second season sees FBI profilers Holden Ford and Bill Tench investigating the Atlanta child murders of 1979 to 1981, and in the season finale, photographer Wayne Williams is arrested for the slayings. Though Williams was ultimately only ever convicted of murdering 2 adults due to the authorities' desperation to close the case as fast as possible, he's believed to have killed at least 23 more. Williams is the focus of the season's final 2 episodes, but he actually makes a totally fleeting appearance 2 episodes prior, visible front and center for a few seconds as a photographer chasing the police to a tip-off. He's just right there in the middle of the frame. Now, without the subsequent context, the shot of Williams seems like a totally unremarkable piece of scene setting, but anyone bothering to rewatch the series will be in for quite the big old surprise when his mug shows up 2 episodes before he's actually brought into the narrative fold. Leonardo DiCaprio memes all over the place. That's him right there, right there. Number 1, Antonio, Schitt's Creek. After all these serial killers and ghosts, we'll end on a more light-hearted note with the instant classic Emmy-winning sitcom Schitt's Creek. You've been put through enough, you poor thing. In the late season 5 episode, Roadkill, we're introduced to the character of Antonio, who will temporarily become David's arch nemesis. Antonio is the slimy business partner of David's former boss, Wendy, who wants to steal the concept for David's general store and then sell low-value products at a huge markup, ripping off both David and Wendy at the same time. Boo! Though Antonio is eventually rumbled, he actually makes his first appearance 4 episodes earlier in Rock On, where he can be seen browsing David's store in the background while David and Patrick are talking. We see you, Antonio. We see you. On a first viewing, Antonio just seems like a totally unremarkable extra for the scene. But on a repeat watch, that scheming David doppelganger sticks out like a sore thumb. Gotcha. So we've reached the end of this list today, but your YouTube journey does not have to end there, you know. If you had a blast with this video and fancy sticking around with your pals here at What Culture, then why not click on one of these other What Culture videos? Keep the good times coming, I say. Be sure to subscribe to the rest of our wonderful channels too, like What Culture Star Wars, gaming, horror, wrestling, and more. If there's something you love watching, there's a good chance we've got a channel for that. Bye bye!